Hi everybody, it's Thursday and we're here to talk a little bit more about MEBs. So one of the things that I said I'd do last time that I really want to do this time is to kind of talk to you a little bit about some of the questions that I get and the way in which the things dovetail together and how things can work out better for you. So one of the questions I got recently was regarding a person's IRILO, which stands for Initial Review in Lieu of. And what it's in lieu of, it's in lieu of a full MEB. So the IRILO becomes the first part of the procedure whereby your PCM identifies you as having an unfitting condition or unfitting conditions. So this is a local part of the process. So what ends up happening, and again, like I said, I'll speak more towards the Air Force side of things since that's what I know actually the best, but it happens pretty much the same way in every branch of the service. So you're identified as having an unfitting condition because one of a couple of things. Either you've been on a profile that has kept you for at least a year from being able to do your job, doing your job downrange, being deployed, or being able to take a PT test. And as we know, that PT test, being able to deploy and being able to do your job are three of the most significant things there is in the life of an individual service member. So that PCM, at least in the Air Force, will sit down with what is called the AMRO board. It used to be called the DOG, and the DOG stood for the Deployment Availability Working Group. Now that board, if you will, sits there and they kind of interrogate through the chief of aerospace medicine or the chief of medical staff and says, okay, what is the condition? Is there a chance of them getting better? Should we put them into a pre-MEB status? And for the Air Force, it's called putting a code 37 on somebody. And then what happens is if they determine that, yes, you have been identified as needing to have a higher command make a decision as to what they should do with you, then you get flipped to a code 37, or you are then submitted to the higher command so that they can make a determination. Now in the Air Force, the determination by medical retention standards will come back and they'll say one of a few things. Either return you to duty without exception and without a caveat, return you to duty with a limitation code 1, 2, or 3, 1 being the least restrictive, 3 being the most restrictive. Now let me take a minute just to talk about that. So an ALCC 1 code means that you can deploy downrange with fewer limitations, meaning you probably have asthma and going with an inhaler would be something that could suffice having that limitation so that you could deploy. 2 and 3 mean there are more restrictions placed on you. 3 would be for those who need to be close to a major facility, medical facility, so if something should happen to them, they could get the proper amount of care needed at that level. And then the third thing that can happen, so you have return to duty with an ALC code or a limitation code, or go through a full MEB. Now going through the full MEB means that when your PEBLO calls you in, that will start your 180-day process. So the IRILO, and again, on the Air Force side, the IRILO contains these things, these parts. Your NARSUM, your narrative summary. The PCM says, yeah, this is what's wrong with the individual. Yes, I recommend them for an MEB. You have the commander's impact statement. Then you also have what's called your 469 or your profile. Those things get put together with any pertinent records, especially like specialty notes, and then that gets sent up to Air Force Personnel Command, AFPC DP2MP, also known as Medical Retention Standards. Then Medical Retention Standards has roughly 10 duty days to come back with a determination as to what to do with you. Now, the IRILO process from beginning to the point where it gets sent up to the major command for a determination should take no more than 30 days. If it is taking more than 30 days, then you have a right to go to the patient advocate and to the medical group commander and say, hey, look, these people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. There is a suspense that must be followed by Secretary of the Air Force or SecAv or even the DOD ruling. It has to be done. And if they're not, then you need to hold them accountable. So with that, I hope that helps you a little bit more understand what the IRILO portion is leading up to the full MEB. Now, if you have other questions and you want to submit them to me, again, our Facebook page is Disability Evaluation System, parentheses, DES-MEB. And please, when you submit a request to be part of that group, identify yourself as a military member. You know, tell me what your MOS is, or your AFSC, or what your job is, where you're stationed, how long you've been there, what your rank is, those types of things. Because if I look into your Facebook page and I don't see something that indicates to me that you're in the military, I'm going to send you a little message saying, hey, I'm trying to protect my members that are a part of our group, instead of just having anybody willy-nilly come on and then, you know, have your information be available to them. So I really want to make sure that I'm doing my job in making sure that you are who you say you are. So, but I do look forward to having you, and I do look forward to fielding more of your questions. So until then, take care and be safe.